A viral video showing a senior army officer and two soldiers assaulting a man in the Federal Capital Territory has sparked widespread outrage online. The incident reportedly occurred after the man allegedly overtook their vehicle. In the 1-minute 57-second clip, the victim is shown writhing in pain while repeatedly pleading his case. A female passenger who tried to record the incident was also targeted, with a soldier forcefully attempting to seize her cell phone.
Well, reacting to the incident, the acting chief of army staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, has ordered an investigation to determine the circumstances surrounding the altercation. In a statement that you can see there on the screen, it reads that the attention of the Nigerian army has been drawn to a viral audio-visual recording circulating on social media platforms, purportedly showed a senior army officer and two other soldiers in an altercation with a man and a woman within the Abuja metropolis. And then it goes ahead to break it down somewhat near the end of the paragraph, where it says the Nigerian Army remains committed to serving and protecting all law-abiding Nigerians and enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But then again, let's take a look. Let's take a look at that clip very briefly. But we must warn you, this clip you're about to see could be somewhat disturbing.
Oh God!
Jesus, 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 Jesus! Oh no, Jesus!
Oh! Come out! I trust you.
He's not feeling fine! He's not feeling fine!
Then what's not feeling? That's why he's dragging. Oh! I said so, come down.
Jesus!
Tofu.
Jesus! Jesus! How can you see what they did to my eye? Are you seeing? Jesus!
Bring this one. Why are you coming? Give me the phone. Give me this phone.
Well, that's a clip that it's not too good to see, especially on a morning like this. But then again, let's talk through the current situation of things in Nigeria, especially looking at that clip. Joining us to discuss this, we do have a security expert and retired director of the Department of State Services, DSS, Dennis Abiye Amachree, joins us this morning. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning to discuss this very disturbing clip that we just saw.
Good morning. Thank you, and thank you very much for having me.
All right. Obviously, the very first question that would pop up anybody's mind or heart would be, what should be done by the Nigerian army? Seeing that clip and seeing the faces of the Major General and others who joined in attacking that man and the woman in the car. That's the very first question everyone would ask. What should be done?
Well, I think the military knows what to do. Of course, they've gone ahead to set up an inquiry into it. I hope that by now it should have been suspended because I think this is a very, very unbecoming where a major general. I was surprised because when I saw the clip myself, I was looking out for the rank of who did this. The corporal, yes, I know other ranks, but for a general, he came down from his car and was doing that. I think it was a disgrace to our military.
Yeah, I mean, but what are some of the things, or some of the questions that should be asked? I mean, while investigating this, was his life in danger? Was this maybe, because they overtook his vehicle? I mean, is that a crime to overtake the vehicle of a military officer in Nigeria? What are the key things that should be asked, to determine, why he, acted that way?
Well, I think the investigation will bring it out, but looking at it on the surface, you'll find out that his life was not in danger, because if his life was in danger, I think the first thing is to evacuate the area. You know, so for him to stay there and go out to, you know, start badgering into the car of the civilian, I think his life was not in danger. But instead, it has raised consequences, you know, serious consequences, because this is what we've been talking about, you know, the military intervention in internal security. You know, you don't find soldiers in other countries, even here in the United States, very, very hardly, except maybe in the airport. And if you see them in the airport, most likely they are going on pass, going on leave or something. And when they want to enter the plane, you know, the plane will first board them. You know, and people really clap for them. If they're in a group, they clap for them as they enter the plane and thanking them for the service they are having for the country, you know. Military people are well respected. But in Nigeria, I think we see them every day. They're all over the road. And then, of course, moving around with sirens, you know. I don't know. I don't know the mentality, because I feel that many people believe that moving around with siren is what makes you a big man, you know. And then when you're moving with siren, people should move away from the road. You find out that the use of siren itself is not one that you want to encourage, because actually what you're doing is drawing attention to yourself. You know, and instead of moving towards the society, you are now beating up civilians, and that shows, you know, the consequences are bad, social consequences, where, you know, they lose respect, the military will lose respect, and then, of course, you find out that a lot of people don't respect them again, and because the military is a respected institution, because they are the ones that are supposed to put their lives for civilians, you know, and then, of course, we are in a democracy. That means they are supposed to subjugate themselves to the authority of the civilian government. But when you see them speeding through as if they are also politicians, you know, I think it's a very bad idea.
Okay, Mr. Dennis, I'd like us to quickly paint a picture here, especially for our viewers. I do wish I had a board somewhere so I could actually put this into a clear explanation. But then again, we do have a convoy, you know, a convoy of the, you know, military cars flying or moving around the road and so on. And possibly it could be this man broke that convoy. What are the best steps to take, aside from what we saw right there on the video? What would you advise? What's the first thing such an officer should do? Because I understand that being a former DSS person, you may understand how these trainings could also impact on the action every single person in the force could take at every different situation. So what's the first thing that could have been done so that we can start getting it right?
Yes, I think, thank you for that question, because I think it's good for public enlightenment. You know, I used to be a presidential bodyguard in Durham Barracks, where I was in charge of a team. And of course, during the training, it was one that, why are convoys? Let's ask that question first of all. Why do we have convoys? Convoys are designed in such a way to protect a very important person, a very important person. It could be president, it could be a governor, it could be a foreign visiting president, of which I've done a lot of that. And we go in a convoy. And the whole idea, the convoy is also on speed, because it's to also deter assassination, you know, because when a VIP is on the road, is the most vulnerable time for him. That's when he's most vulnerable. So they tend to move on speed. And then, of course, you have to be a real sharpshooter, you know, before you can get a president who is in a convoy. Just like they got John F. Kennedy in the United States. He was in a convoy, and then of course the shooter was up somewhere in the building and then took him out. So these are things that happen when a convoy is going on, But again, coming back to this particular situation, there was no convoy. There was no convoy at all, because we don't see more than one car. We don't see more than one. And even if there is going to be a convoy, that Major General is not, important enough to have a convoy. I don't know his position in the army, or in the government for him to carry a convoy. Because the convoys that are recognized right now are convoys by governors, the president himself, I can even see some ministers are carrying convoys around. That is illegal. It's illegal. And those are not necessary. It depends on the importance of that VIP that could make a situation where the guy will be given protective details. And if they give a protective detail to a VIP, like the Major General himself, or even a minister, then their modus operandi is going to be a different one. They could be discreet about it. They could be very, very discreet about it, because the whole idea of protecting a VIP on the streets where he is most vulnerable is to make sure that nothing happens to him. And that's why you find out that some of them even use bulletproof cars, to avert any kind of accident, somebody trying to shoot or something. So this particular situation does not require a convoy, and there was none, and the person involved is not a VIP, and I think the military should start talking to their people to subjugate themselves to civil authority, because we cannot continue having a backlash of the 13 years of military rule in Nigeria. Many people are having that mentality. Even governors, having the mentality of with immediate effect, or dealing with people and stuff like that. We should remember that this is a democracy.
Yeah, I don't know if you would agree with me, but I think, what we're seeing here, again, is the complete militarization of the Nigerian society and the Nigerian mentality as well. Because, this is maybe one of the only places where we're talking about breaking a convoy, as such an offense. Is that illegal? There's no part of the Nigerian constitution.
I'd like to complete that question that your partner asked, whether it is illegal.
Yeah.
And when we were in service, it's illegal because it makes the person suspicious. One thing that people should also learn not to do, if there's a convoy, you see other cars trying to race, or they will cut out and join the convoy and started to pursue, the convoy. Basically, it's for, to beat the traffic, But all the same, you don't cut into a convoy. Because when you cut into a convoy, the training of the bodyguards at that time is that you are coming to kill the VIP. You see, you are coming to kill the VIP. So by training, what they do is to use the cars. They will use the cars to remove that person, that car. I remember when we were in training, there was a car that cut into our convoy, and then of course we used a car, we drove in such a way that he couldn't remain in the convoy. He has to get out of the convoy.
I get that already. I think that one's pretty understandable, why, what you've just explained. What I'm asking, or what I'm trying to clarify here, and again, that's why I started with the militarization of the Nigerian society and the Nigerian mentality. If you remember when the Zaria massacre happened, one of the popular excuses then was that they blocked the road of an army chief and they touched his chest, or some silly excuse like that. But it's, again, the militarization of the Nigerian mentality that you make people feel like, it's okay to be assaulted, brutally assaulted for daring to break the convoy. I've even seen people explain on social media that it's also maybe illegal to overtake a military vehicle, and once you see them on the road, you should, completely get out of the way. And we've been abused for so long, and these things then become normal.
I agree with you. I think there's a level of militarization of the Nigerian society whereby people are still having a backlash of the military mentality, the military era, so to say. People that have gone through war and come out from war, usually have such mentalities, such residual mentality in them. But again, you see, it was a big problem. I remember 1999, when the country was moving from military government to, a civil democracy. A lot of people, I remember even in the DSS where we have to go through a lot of training, you have to retrain people to, learn how to deal with civil society, I remember that one perfectly. And then, of course, because it's not the same. During military regimes, there's a very high level of impunity, a very high level. And then, of course, they feel they're in the government. And then, of course, you hear things like bloody civilian, I'll deal with you. I will we'll do this with immediate alacrity. All kinds of militarized languages where, indirectly suggesting brutality, and we are in a democracy now. I think even the Minister of Defense should come into this, because we have to relegate the military back into the barracks. And I don't, that's one problem I have about, the military getting so much involved in internal security. Internal security should be left to the civil, or paramilitary security agencies like police, the DSS, and to some extent NSCDC, because Nigeria is another country where you see a lot of uniforms, all kinds of uniforms, because people have come to, because these are all part of the military this thing, whereby they believe that when you wear a uniform, it gives you some kind of temporal authority, with which you can now do whatever you like. And basically what you like to do at that time is oppressing civilians, and that is not good at all, especially in a democratic society, So the military should be gradually removed. And then, of course, why do we invite them in? Because we felt that there was a serious problem that the police cannot handle, But right now, we are seeing that you can, recruit more policemen, train more policemen, train them. In fact, the SWAT teams that we have here in the United States are policemen, but they are trained to be the best of the best in such a way that when they want to go and take care of certain situations like kidnapping or even I keep on mentioning this. If there is a hijack of a plane and it lands at Murtala Mohammed Airport, which team do we have that will respond to that particular breach? And these are the things that we are talking about. Train them to the highest level. I know the police was weakened a lot during the military regime, because they felt that the police was too strong, you know, that the police could stop the military from carrying out their coups. So a lot of, you know, I remember, I don't want to mention their names, but some military leaders tried to make sure that they decimate the powers of the police and even the military to an extent, because they don't want them to plan a coup. So most of our equipment were very, very old. And it's recently that they're even buying modern equipment for the military. You know, so let us restructure, you know, and then of course move the military out of the civilian space. They should be responsible to defend the country from external aggression. That's what the military is supposed to be, you know. And the consequences of putting them or mixing them in internal security is where they now try to bastardize civilians, you know, whom they are supposed to protect. You know, the mantra of the police is to protect and serve, to serve and protect, you know, service and protection. The military is to kill, to kill. And that's for external and foreign enemies of Nigeria. But when you bring them into internal security, then the only way they know how to do is to kill, brutalize. And when they do this, you find out that it is not good for our civilian society.
We can only imagine. That's the more reason why, I mean, we need some form of reorientation, possibly for the military as well. And a lot of courses, maybe look deep into the courses that were used for the military before and maybe have an upgrade. But we want to say thank you so much. There's no better person who could have broken this down for us other than you. And since it's Father's Day, even though it's past, but we still need to talk about it this week.
Men's Day.
International
Men's Day.
International Men's Day, Father's Day, name it. I mean, like I say, the men fall under father, brother, sister, and so on and so forth. I want to say thank you so much for joining us. And as men on the show today, yes, we own it. I would say thank you for always responding to a call. And I don't know if anyone has said it to you. We personally love you, and we thank you for that.
Thank you for having me always.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amachree.